Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spincast Cycling Show. Brian Kellison, leads of Reese, Brian White, and climbing the Alp to finish his week-long stage race is Casey Shum, muted currently. But we want to jump into it right now. We have a couple of topics on the table, but the first one I wanted to talk about, because we've just talked about it before starting the show, is about staying on mentally and physically for a long-term event. So like this was a daily event. So it's a stage race, right? The FRR, which is the Flamme Rouge Racing stage of Watopia or whatever the hell it is.
That was France.
This is France, whatever it is.
Yeah, I will speak for Casey because he can't right now.
Yeah, speak for Casey.
He will never ride France ever again because you do 9 stages, 8 of them in France.
Okay.
You're going to run the same stupid roads, the same stupid petite KOM every day.
Okay. But so let me ask you this. Is that because we're in Zwift and we know Zwift and we've been in Zwift for too long? But let's say you do like a 3-day stage. So like the professional equivalent of something like that would be the roads around Belgium. They do like or the 4 days of Dunkirk, which is sort of the same roads where they go up the stuff that's in the Flanders race. They do some other stuff. They do a time trial. They do like a morning time trial and then a road race in the afternoon. But is it because we're in Zwift and we're on a trainer? Because I think no. Okay.
France has 25-kilometer loop. It's a big loopy world instead of like Scotland, like a small loopy world, or Yorkshire, or one of these other ones. It's 25-kilometer loop with a 6-minute. Depends on your power. Just say 6 to 8 minute, 10-minute climb, and then some giant ass boring climb. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So,
but the competition is not boring, or is it because the competition has to sacrifice its
I think I could mystique? Like you're talking about being on mentally. I think I get this from Casey. I feel it, but I think Casey is feeling this too. It's the same exact roads every day you're racing on. So it's not mixing up the terrain enough to know, you know what I mean? You know when you know exactly when the attacks are coming.
Right, but you know that, hey, I have this gap to make up to move up one space, or I could attack and do that sort of thing. That's not that's the mentally staying on to be into the race. Right.
Well, that part of it. But the course in France makes it hard for that. Like, hey, I'm going to get on and hey, yesterday we were in Watopia, today we're in McCurry. I know this little climb in McCurry, what the dirt section is, I'll hit it hard. So that kind of mental aspect. But Casey, Camden, Village of Eternity, who else did it? Bucky's. I know for sure those did it. A couple guys from the ladder race team. The guys who've done every single stage. I know I saw Randy races bikes there as well. You guys are animals for every day doing this. Like,
well, that's the tough thing about, like, a lot of us take for granted if they've never done something that's back to back days, right? Even a week long. I've done a 4-day stage race. That's the most I've ever done, which was 5 stages in 4 days. To be mentally on, you got to be mentally on. If you're sort of like not really competing in the GC, but you're helping a teammate, or you're just trying to push yourself, then it's less of a pressure cooker, right? But when you're trying to push yourself, and maybe you're in the podium, or you're seeking top 10 or something, staying on is mentally difficult. And so we do have these little hiccups, right? So like, I think Casey has to get up for doing the race. He's thinking about the course, but he still has to, like, now, granted, I don't know what the verification for this race is, but if it was a verified race, kind of like what you're going to touch on is the Sunday Race Club, where you're like, hey, I have to make sure I have my dual power. I have to have my heart rate on. I have to have, the trainer difficulty needs to be this, and I have to have my weight properly, or I have to do a weigh-in every day. Those things start to pile up, and you can miss stuff, right? So you had a little miss up. So tell everybody what happened today.
All right. So I get up, for the Sunday Race Club. For me, it starts at 5. 5:45 because Cat 4 starts at 5:40, Cat 3 starts at 5:45. So I don't know. I'm eating my little snack before
5:45 Eastern.
5:45 a.m. Eastern time. Yes.
Yeah, a.m. Yeah.
And I go in, hop on the bike. It's 5:25. That's 20 minutes to warm up. Noodle a little bit, do a couple efforts, jump in the pen. Like I normally get in the pen about 7 minutes beforehand. Well, I go to shift. There's no shifting. My cable inside the internal mechanism of the shifter came loose. And I'm sure it's because I use virtual shifting with Zwift majority of the time, and I hadn't been shifting. So it just kind of some sweat got in there and locked it up. Well, I ran out to the garage, got my cross bike, because I'm like, oh, I'll just throw it on. It'd take me 2 minutes to swap the power meter. We're good to go. I put my cross bike on.
Wait, 2 minutes to swap your power meter. What do you mean?
Yeah, because I just got the crank. So, you just unbolt
same crank you have the same crank.
Yeah, I was just going to take the crank off my, it's a strand. So you just got one Allen key, you take it out, you throw it in the other one. Super simple. Well,
it's verified riding. He has to ride.
You have to ride dual power. Yeah, I understand that.
And I have to have that
same device.
Some people have pedals, but I didn't know. Yeah.
Right. So it has to be that same device. Otherwise, it'd be not anyway.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's why I was going to swap the power meter. So my frame of my Fuji, whatever the hell it is, CX1, doesn't fit on the Kickr frame. It hits the frame where the disc brakes are, the mold hits on the frame of the Kickr. So I'm like, all right, that's it. So I'm like, I'll just join the pen and I'll just do my training ride because I knew I was going to make it. And then I took apart the shifter, got the cable. So part of that is my fault. I didn't shift through the week.
Yeah.
And normally on Saturdays, I ride MyWhoosh. I would have figured out yesterday if I did my normal routine, but I didn't. Like I'll do a climb in Colombia or something for zone 2. So, so I started 12 minutes late and I just did zone 2 and I hit the hills with the effort. So I didn't turn it into a workout instead of, and overall, I didn't do too bad. I finished about, 15 minutes behind the lead group and I had a 12-minute, I was 12 minutes behind. So I was kind of surprised. Now I did have some Cat 1 guys that were around me that I rode with, but yeah, those mechanical things you can't plan for, obviously. But in my case, if I would have been using regular shifting and not virtual shifting, probably would never happen because you would have been moving them or whatnot. But yeah, it happens. But I still got a good ride in. Can't complain about that.
Right, but if this was a more significant event.
Oh, well, okay. So this wasn't a significant event because in Cat 3 right now, might be competitive in another 4 or 6 weeks of training. But so I was going into it as just a training ride anyway. But it was like mentally just like frustrating, exhausting, knowing that like I had this problem. It's so frustrating how to fix it and then do the ride. So It took me a little bit to get over it. Now we could go into another issue with MyWhoosh from Gabriela Guerrera.
Okay.
So for a while, when you log into MyWhoosh, occasionally all your rewards and all your achievements are gone. Unknown, I just log out, log back in. If it's not there, I log back out, log back in, they're there. So in Cat 1, male and female, you have to weigh in before the race. So she did that. She weighed in, changed her weight, exited the game, went back in. Now, I didn't see the beginning of it. I just caught the end of the stream whenever she was like, I actually saw, I had her muted. I was watching it. And I saw Nathan like.
Okay, hold on. Before you get way deep in the.
Yeah. You
were talking about rewards. So so the solution to this, whatever it is you're not seeing rewards. So you leave and come back in. And now so she needed her rewards or she needed to just do her weight.
What I was meaning is MyWhoosh has had a problem with the game not displaying information correctly.
Remembering what you input.
Right. So like all the awards that you have done, all the routes, all the achievements, they're gone. Like your coins and levels are still there, your XP. So I log out and log back in. So there is something within the software of MyWhoosh that like hangs on to something, or we don't know the issue, like us publicly, like they may know it behind the scenes, but we don't. So whenever Gabby updated her weight, left the game, came back in the game.
Okay, I have another question.
Reverted back.
Why did she leave? If she updated her weight, why did she leave the game?
So that way you're supposed to.
That's the tip.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to do to make it activate. You know what I mean? Like, because you could just change it, but I think on the server side it doesn't accept it. So
okay,
I was talking a little bit with Nathan afterwards because he was in my stream. It reverted to her weight like 6 to 8 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So
oh wow.
So it was 4 kilograms, and in her situation, she finished, I think it was 4th or 5th. That's a chunk of money at Cat 1 to go from. Yeah. So that issue, especially if you are at the elite level and we have elite stuff coming up, you know, we just went through a bunch of elite stuff. We have a whole bunch of elite coming up. Man, that's a rough go.
Yeah, that's an issue, because if you're saying that, hey, the end user's having this workaround, which is input data, save the data, then exit the program, bring back the program, and then it should be there.
Yeah.
Right. That's sort of like you said that with the rewards thing. Well, that's with weight or some other thing, right? When you connect your secondary power or whatever it is, you lock that in, it holds on to those whatever IDs of those devices, right? Which I understand. It's sort of like you save your work, like you're working on a Photoshop document and you save your work and then it's saved, the file is saved, but you actually physically save the file, where MyWhoosh is not saving the profile of what you have. It's sort of, and then it applied an old thing from an old profile.
It's almost like the old backup data. It like brought back the old, like the current data didn't save correctly. So it reverted back to the last save data it had, which I know she said it on her stream, and if the VOD
we're not speaking for, we're just speaking from what you.
I'll get techie here.
Okay.
What it appears like, I would guess, is they have backup instances of the profiles on different servers, and one of those servers isn't getting updates, and you know, it's kind of like a cloud platform. If you grab the wrong data set, you get old data. Something's out of sync.
Yeah.
And that's a very good possibility, because Nathan said on her video, she's like, you just raced whatever 2, 3, 4 days ago, whatever the day was, at 55. Like she had already raced, you know what I mean? So she updated it before this. And then, so that's a very good possibility, Casey, like that, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 servers.
So like there's a user, and like this is the way RGT was. It had you had your user as well, like your user and the app itself. And so, which is terrible. This shouldn't happen, but you need to do the due diligence even more so to go look at the web version of your user to see if it holds on to that as well, which it should hold on to it. It shouldn't mess it up. It should hold on to that whatever profile and update it. Or you can download it and go, hey, here's my proof, like kind of like a fit file, like here's my proof of where my weight is. Or can you enter, these are all feature requests, but like, because that affected the race. Cause like, it's not like, you know, a kilogram or something, you know, plus or minus, or a watt difference on the trainer percentage of watt difference. It's like, that's a significant thing in category 1.
And I will say, I'm in the same situation as Gabby, because I haven't been able to do a Sunday final race club since July. So I'm at 81 kilograms in MyWhoosh. I'm racing at 81, but like this morning I weighed, I think it was 78.8 or something like that. So in game I'd be 78. That's 3 kilograms. And in my Zwift weight, I'm at 78.5. So that is huge. Like that changed her entire race, because my VO2 on the climb today, I did like 370 for the first Hollywood Hills climb. Off the top of my head, I think it's like 4.8. Now, if I was 78, I'd be at 5.1, and I could really
So
compete.
is it still when you do the Power Passport test for MyWhoosh, it holds on to your weight for the 3 month for the month?
Yes.
And then
So
you have
the
to
way
do it.
MyWhoosh works, you do your Power Passport test, you submit your weight. So I started at 84 kilograms.
Yep.
In July, I did the monthly final. I was 81. And then now I'm 78 to 79. And since I haven't been able to do the monthly final, I haven't been able to update my weight. So I'm going to contact Race Control this week to say, hey, I haven't been able to do a weigh-in. It's really affecting me. Can I do a Power Passport test and then re-weigh in? I don't know. And the 2 people that I asked, they weren't sure either. And especially if we got the stupid endurance climb come up for the monthly final, those 3 kilograms are going to be huge to help me.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of also another loophole. So let's just say I'm in Cat 4 still, and a way to sandbag per se was you do the other 3 races, place top 5, and then miss the weigh-in. You could skirt around that. So
it's weird how they don't weigh in every week.
Yeah.
I understand because I don't like weighing in and I don't like doing that crap. And you get locked in, then you have to worry about it. That I understand. There's like a mental health version of things, but then there's also like if you can fuel, because a lot of people are not fueling to stay leaner.
Yeah.
And so that's a good fix for that. But having it so that you're training, you're losing weight, you're focused on your fitness and your fueling and all that stuff, and you would be gaining benefits from progressing in the game.
Yeah.
Right. So
all right. But yes,
I'd like to know how you went on vacation and came back 3 kilograms lighter.
Oh,
how's that possible?
I was let's see. I was actually 172 when I left for vacation, which I can't remember the exact kilogram equation, and then when I came back, I was 175. So I did gain a few pounds, but I think part of it is I did do a few workouts, which I did my first actual Peloton style spin class on the cruise ship. And I treated it. I tell you what, if you go into it and listen to the instructor, like, hey, 0 resistance, spin at 120. No, I set the base when he said, this is where whatever, I did my zone 2. So I'm like at level 10 and he's saying, level 6. Hey, we're going to bump it up to level 6. So then I went up to 16. So I have no idea what this guy's throwing at me. So I bump it up to 6. Well, I'm like 420 watts. And he's like, okay, hey guys, we're going to ramp it up a little bit from here. So I just thought he meant
He wasn't talking to you. He wasn't talking to you.
Oh man. Yeah.
You thought he was talking to you. You should know better.
Oh yeah. It was rough.
Like Brian, the guy, like he's looking at he has like the whole dashboard of everyone's wattage. Yeah. And you're like, yours has a 4 in front of your number and everyone else has like a 1.
Yeah.
He's like, let's bump it up. He's not talking to you, buddy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was brutal. I treated it like my typical.
Did you take your Osceomo pedals and no, you don't have Osceomo pedals.
No. Yeah. No, but I had the heart rate paired and everything. So, and I was kind of surprised the Techno Bike spin class bikes were actually, because the power I was putting out, my heart rate got in those areas. Like when I was doing 400 watts, my heart rate got up to 175. So I was kind of surprised, but I was the only guy and gal that was soaked in sweat in the whole thing, because I was actually putting some power out, but that's all right. But yeah, it was actually kind of good.
Yeah.
If you treat it like our mentality of a cycling workout, looking at power zones. Oh yeah. But if you're just listening to what they are, for me personally, now maybe the Aunt Bev that was next to me, she was probably, having a workout of her life, but in our bubble,
you met the actual Aunt Bev next to you?
There was a lady that was older than me there. Yes.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Did she install her pedals? She had her speed plays. She brought her speed plays and shoes.
Yeah. She was locked in.
Yeah. Right on. All right. That was the MyWhoosh. And the thing is like Casey when Casey gets a chance to talk about it, it's like, I've done stage races and they're taxing. They're mentally taxing. And then even like the long form, like even just a week. So sometimes there's like weekly, or you do like 3 weeks and you have a Monday race, a Wednesday race, and a Friday race. I've done those before. Those are like the Moon Riders it was on RGT, and you would race Monday, then have Tuesday to do whatever, and then Wednesday, and so on and so forth. And there's like, you're like, man, I don't want to go hard today, or hey, I'm competing for the podium, and I do want to go hard for this, and so that's where you got to stay on, and hopefully. I don't know if Casey has any teammates, but some of these races that he's doing, as you can see him still climbing the Alp for the audio-only audience. He's still going up the Alp to Zwift.
Turn 4, let's go.
Yeah, he's on turn 4. Segment 4 is left. You know, it sort of splinters out, and like the you're not really racing with anyone unless you're in the front group, but you can group up and ride on your own. But when you have like a race where you match up better, then you're like, okay, this is competition, and I got to stay on.
Yeah,
I feel his pain every time Casey puts his head down for more than 5 seconds. I'm like, we've been there. We've all been there in races where it's like you're just staring at the floor, pedaling.
One of the cool
you don't
things,
even want to look at the screen because you're like, I don't even want to know how much farther I have left. I'm just pedaling.
So one of the guys we do with the ladder racing,
crap, you caught that guy fast.
He's I think he's in the I don't remember what category he is. He's in a lower category than me. Something I like.
Wait, hold on a second.
Oh,
categories? What are you talking about?
Well, okay, the whatever FRR sorts out.
Okay, gotcha.
We'll move on to that in a second.
That's a teaser right there.
Yeah. So I'm a DRA. I think it's Dragon, and Casey's in a group below me, and then
is that what those mean?
Yeah. It's like Dragon, Jalapeno, Capsian, Habanero. I don't know. It's something about peppers and being spicy. That's all I know. But
I'm like a dragon pepper, right?
Yeah.
I heard you guys talking every time you guys were racing, like, oh, don't need to chase him. He's a DRA. And I'm thinking, like, what the heck are they talking about? Like DRA? Is that like he's a certain points level or... That makes sense.
It's based off the Zwift racing app. So like I'm in Ruby, Casey's in one below me. I think it's Emerald. So that's kind of where it's based off of. Now, what I like is Brent is in, I believe, the category below Casey, and we start in the same pen. So I can, in one race, I was the domestique for that. Like that team aspect is something that I really like, and I think the next one in November, I'm going to try to actually help him because that's the team aspect. Like I am the stronger rider. I'm the Tim de Klerk or whatever. I'm going to be him, bridge his gaps, put him in the best position. That may not be how everyone races it, but that's how they should race it. Like if I have a friend in lower category, I really don't care about this. I'm not going to be at the front of Dragon, but I can help him. One of the races, I did a race and then I jumped in this, and I was like, Casey, I think said, hey, he's, top 10 and for the green jersey or whatever the hell it was. I'm like, all right. Or maybe it's GC, whatever. So,
but you don't want to be the protector rider. I think I was talking about this with
Barney
Cam. Barney. Okay. Yes. No, Barney as well. But there's other people that don't want to be the protected rider.
Yeah. Like I had so much fun in Village of Eternity. Cam was in there as well. And I had so much fun watching Brent closing this giant ass gap and then trying to make up time. And then your annulment buddy, his little dick, wouldn't do any work and then attacks me after I do a 4-minute effort. Attacks me and then leaves me. So I
weren't
enjoyed
annulled,
it.
By the way, we weren't annulled.
Well, you know what I mean.
We were removed from the results.
Yeah. But I did drop him on the
unfiltered.
Yeah, I did drop him on the team time trial and beat him by like 45 seconds. Not team time trial, individual time trial. So
I did enjoy watching that. Actually, you pulling him. And I also enjoyed watching Villager and his stupid flat power watts that he has on a flat course. That guy can go fast.
That course, like because Villager's FTP, I think is 400. Now he does weigh, I think is 100 kilograms. So much more powerful than me. but somehow I got like a 5-6 second gap. So like the entire time, I'm like, I cannot let him beat me. And I ended up, I think it was like 6 seconds. I held him off. But yeah,
well,
that was fun.
you were in the group with him and on the Tuesday, the Brian Kellison open invitational.
It was super fun watching too, because you were streaming, Villager was streaming, and people were in Villager's chat egging him on, and you were like, tell him to stop. Tell him to stop.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. But I think in November, I think I'm going to sign up again and try to make more of the dates than just 4 and help Brent, because that team aspect, man, that really intrigued me, because I'm like,
so then let me ask you this. Let's ask everyone here. How do we get the team aspect more of a thing? Because we talked about this with Barney as well, is like, there are moments where we can get team stuff, but it's hard to do because I think the game doesn't allow for a lot of team stuff. Like, I think we try to do team stuff, but it's like,
I feel like
not as
the early days of ZRL. I don't know how ZRL is now, but the first like 4 seasons I found were very team oriented.
Yeah.
Is that because the fastest through the line, fastest through the segment?
Well, they just had a lot of, they had like, points for crossing the line fastest.
So points, you think point scoring,
FTS.
Point scoring is more team stuff, yeah?
Yeah, I think everyone, it felt to me like in our ZRL team that everyone had a role and everyone was contributing, whether or not they were a good sprinter, or a GC guy. Like, we had guys on our team who strictly went for placing. Your goal is to get the highest place you can. We had one guy who his job was sprinting. He would fall off the back, he would be rested, and he would go for FTS points. And everyone, by having their own little role, it felt like we were all contributing. After the race, we were all like, yeah, that was awesome. Oh, you did this and you did that, and that was fantastic. And it felt like a team. Like, I enjoyed the team aspect over anything else. Like, I only raced because it was like I didn't want to let my team down by not showing up.
Okay. So it was more team in the race.
Yeah.
More than just team sort of like after the race. Like,
so
doing stuff in the game, team oriented and working together as a team, or is it, hey, we did this like as an individual, but we were part of a team and this is the results, and that's where the team stuff comes from?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I haven't done ZRL since, it's been a year, but it seems like the courses are shorter now. So I don't know if I'm just remembering incorrectly, but it seems like the shorter courses are a little more punchy, and that eliminates some of the team tactics. Because I remember when I was with Coalition, I did a lot of work holding things together for the guy who was supposed to sprint or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm just, because that's been a few years ago since I was with Coalition doing ZRL every night or every week. But I remember I did a lot of work keeping the people that were supposed to do a job in the place. Like, they didn't really care about where I finished. My job was the domestique. My job was to keep our team in the best position. And sometimes I went off the front to try to get other people to react. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe because I haven't done it in a year, I don't have, you know what I mean? I don't have the experience. And maybe the team that I was with last didn't have the same, I guess, quality of riders. I don't know. But it does seem different from a year ago when I did it. So
well, maybe we do the team thing and see what it's like, and then we can talk about it on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Do we want to move on to some other stuff?
Yeah.
I want to talk Bike-Tera. I don't know what you guys, I want to get some Bike-Tera stuff.
Okay. We'll talk Bike-Tera because we don't
racing score. We want a racing score now. Or what's up?
Well, racing score.
Yeah, let's do racing score.
Talk about racing score.
All right.
Yeah, whatever. This is the 6th, 7th week together. 7th week talking about bikes.
Oh, you can talk about racing score every week because it just goes on and on.
Well, I went down today, so I did a race, and I went down from 514 to 487. What am I now? So
I think you're in the 380 to 525 group.
Yeah, 417. So I went down a lot. Do we want to break this down? Go bring up my.
I'm gonna stamp my hands on the desk and be like, "How is it possible that Brian Kellison is in the same group as me?
Yeah.
Racing Score sucks
because I suck. That's why. Okay, so I'm 473 from 514.
Oh my God,
so,
you're the same score as I was before I took my summer break. Go. How is that possible? But
so let's see what my results are.
The way it is.
Yeah, so I have a friend that I've talked about him before. He just gets on rides. He really don't care. He don't know anything about Zwift. He is the guy that we kind of complain about that doesn't race. He gets in the front and does his, rides hard and thinks he's racing. And I fan viewed him the other day and I was like, dude, I have so much to teach you. I said, you're killing yourself. He said, you should have won that race hands down. And I looked at his Zwift Power. There was a guy that had averaged 4.6. He might not have been able to beat him, but he averaged 4.0 doing all the work on the front, and they got to the final climb and he got destroyed. But he's in the same group as Kellison.
All right, I'm sending my results so we can break it down into the Discord if you want to bring it up.
And that's the thing with the race score. Like people are saying, I know Zavaris, he can get on a bender about it, but I'm racing A+ riders. I've beat A+ riders that have averaged in the race over a watt per kilogram higher than me.
What are A+ riders? Because that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, okay, the black symbol on there with the FTP over 5.2 or whatever, those are what I'm referring to as the A+ riders.
Gotcha.
So okay, instead of that, yeah, the black dot people on that have the over at 5.2 watt per kilogram FTP. Like I did a race the other day, I averaged 3.8 and beat 2 A+ over 5 watt per kilogram guys. Okay, so and that's the same as you being 3 watt per kilogram going against them a 4 watt per kilogram. I understand, up in my area, everyone is good. So like I'm still racing at a watt per kilogram disadvantage, but the thing is you have to show up. Yes, you might not win. I don't expect to win. I expect to suffer and hang on as long as I can. So the I can't compete like I used to. Part of this is it's been live for 7 days. Part of this is people are coming back. The Northern Hemisphere is returning to Zwift. My buddy very shortly will be out of whatever it is, the 525 to 520 or 450 to 525 group. It's about people returning and doing the races because people still are complaining. Oh, I've only did one of these, blah, 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 blah. You need to do more. You do more, you're going to get more. You're going to get more out of it. And I know Zavaris, he has some comments about it.
I'm doing, let's say I do more and I don't compete in the things and I go down in score.
You is the general term as the Zwift rider. The Zwift rider, you do more. You participate in more of these. Kellison's going to move up. Casey's going to move up. I'm going to move up. My buddy, he may move down, or he may get in with his right grouping of people. The more races you do,
show what you moved up from in the list. Like the up arrows, they don't tell you what you went up from.
No, it doesn't. It just shows that you increased and now you're sitting there. The only way that I know is I open up Zwift Power or my Zwift profile before the race, and then I open up a new tab with my Zwift profile again to see what it goes up.
Well, I went down 40 points.
Oh, look at you, stud.
Yeah. Or 41 points, actually.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm going down. That's what I want. I want to go down.
Barney.
Send me down. There we go.
Yeah, so people just need to do it and relax. Like this is 1 week and people are returning to Zwift. So yeah, there may be some people massively out of category.
Oh, totally.
Or I shouldn't say category. I'm out of group because as Zavaris will tell us, categories are gone.
There is
but doesn't every ride affect your score?
No. Okay.
No, it doesn't anymore?
Only if you it's only if you better your seed score.
Yes. So all rides do take into account, but so let's say I'm double dipping. I'm riding MyWhoosh today. I don't know if I set a new. I was close to setting a 10-minute power for sure. Like it. Regardless, let's just say I did 375 for 10 minutes. And that's 5 watts higher than my previous. Yeah, that'll increase my seed score. Is let's say I had a 30-second sprint that was, I don't even know what my 30-second sprint is, but say it increased, and I was double dipping, riding around Tempest Fugit. Yeah, that will affect it. But I don't think it's going to be. My understanding is it'll affect it. I could be wrong,
But if you don't double dip, I wasn't double dipping. When I do Bike-Tera, I'm not double dipping into Zwift.
Yeah.
So that data doesn't go to Zwift.
Right. So in theory, say if you do, you set a new 10-minute power on Bike-Tera or MyWhoosh and Zwift isn't open, yeah, they don't know. So you're going to stay still. So that's why I double dip. So there is no, I train on MyWhoosh and I race on Zwift and I'm in the wrong category kind of BS.
But, good job, Casey.
I still think good job, Casey. Congratulations. He still has 1 kilometer to go, 1.5 kilometer.
What?
Oh, that sucks. Finished? It's not at the banner? Oh, those bastards.
Lame. But, I mean, we spend a lot of time, giving Zwift
too much time
basically telling Zwift all the things they're doing wrong. I feel like Zwift Racing Score is something in the very right direction.
Okay.
But I feel like social media is so difficult. Like people, man, like out of all the people in the world, I definitely am super hard on Zwift. And I go on to like the Facebook Zwift Racers, and it's like every second post is about how Zwift Racing Score sucks. And it's so dumb. And I'm a C, but I'm racing Bs and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dudes, man, calm down. It's been 7 days. Like,
that's the old mentality, though, right? That's
totally the old mentality.
Okay. So how would we solve that? And can we solve that?
Well, I don't think so. Just hearing people's response to Racing Score, it's almost the exact same whining. Yeah. And what it comes down to is people want to win every race, or they want to podium every race, or be top 5 every race. And if someone's not top 5, they're like, oh, I'm a D and I'm racing against Bs in my Racing Score division, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, dude, you're not a D and you didn't race against Bs because those don't exist anymore.
You're competitive in every race. The system's broken.
Yeah. Basically, if you're not winning,
the system's broken.
100%. And that's, I feel like everyone wants a participation trophy. You know what? Try racing age group. If there was age group categories, you would never win, ever. Yeah. And in real life, most of the races I do in real life are age category, and I'm last almost in every race. I don't care. I'm just there to participate. It's fun.
That's what I want. I want fun. And so like, I'm not even, the Racing Score that I did today, the race I did today was not based on, I'm just going into the recommended race score. You can race up, probably not going to be anywhere near competitive in that, but I want it to be fun. I think that's the thing that we need to kind of drive home is hopefully it'll be fun if you're competing, but if you're not competing, it's not fun. And that's where people have an issue.
I've never won. I've done like 5 seasons of ZRL, countless other Zwift races. I've placed in the top 10 maybe once or twice. I still raced. Like, I don't get
but isn't there something to that where you're not putting a lot of pressure on yourself to
I definitely don't put a lot
win
of
a
pressure.
Zwift race?
The pressure is like, I sure hope people don't show up so I can do better.
I think we've got the tale of 2 riders here, quite honestly, and I think it's a good example. Like myself and Lee, I've been consistently competitive in the B category for a couple of years now, right? If I join a race, I am a majority of the time podium the race, right? That's my case, and it's consistent that way. And I don't have the power to move up, but I have the race savvy to complete races like that. Lee is forever in the bottom section of his category. He has to lose fitness to move down or sandbag to move down, and he doesn't want to train what it's going to take to move up, and that's a personal choice. So he is forever stuck. What people are missing in this with the complaints is they say, I can never compete against X person. They're always going to crush my category. The problem there is one word, always. They will not always crush your category. They will crush your category for a few races and they will move up.
Yeah.
And I think that I think what we're seeing right now that we need to be patient with is everyone started with essentially no race results. So a lot of people are still moving up to what we've referred to as their buoyancy point, right? None of us are at our equilibrium in the points yet. And until that happens, it's hard to judge what the categories are going to look like. So the public, in order for it to work, the people that are getting beat and the people that are winning have to both be racing, produce results, and those people should drift apart. And once everyone gets to a more buoyancy equilibrium, then we can judge if the categories need to be adjusted. Do the categories need to be adjusted? Does the algorithm need to be adjusted? But I'm with Lee on this. I think it's too early to make a judgment, and I think too many people that were stuck in the always competitive mode are frustrated because, like myself, I am for sure going to be against riders that I didn't have to race the last 4 years. Yeah. But on a flat course, I can still podium a sprint with those guys. They will shred me on a hilly course, and that's because I'm a good rider and I win enough sprints to stay in a higher category. And that's just the reality of what it is.
I think it's good that way. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of ZRS races, but I feel like I'm a perfect example of how the old system didn't work. I was a C. I never won a C race, ever. Maybe got a couple top 10s. Tried my best in every race. I upgraded to B. I was a very low B where I was mid-pack. But how was I not winning C? How did I get upgraded to B? How did I have B power? And I think I'm a decently smart racer, but I could never win a C race. I could never even come top 5 in a C race. But I got upgraded to B? Made no sense. So ZRS for me is a way better system than the old ABCD.
If I had to probably call one mistake I think Zwift made in this is a lot of the ZRS began in weeks where some of the big races were on hilly courses. So, because the problem is those light, high-powered guys, the barely an A guy who's 62 kilos is not very competitive generally because us heavyweights beat up on them. But those guys are shredding the climbs, and a lot of those first few races and first few series that this rolled out on were epically hilly, and they kicked the crap out of the good racers because they don't have the power.
So we need more data.
We need more data. I think I would just ask, and because I'm with Lee here, I'm all for tearing down Zwift, but I think this. I wish they could have designed it where it had more seeding based on results to begin with, so we didn't have to take this time.
Yeah.
But the way they designed it, I think we have to let it mature a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we will need to adjust, but we got to let it mature.
Yeah. I think
a lot of people don't understand is, yes, they have a lot of data, but people are not always given her all the time. 99.9% of my Zwift riding is like tootling.
Yeah.
Or noodling, I should say.
So
or tootling. I like tootling. No worries.
It just what you guys like, the argument of, hey, they've been collecting data forever. No one I should say it seemed from the Facebook comments, the Companion Club app, a lot of people didn't do the races. They just complained about them.
Because if we talk about
please,
racing
Zwift,
is not
use. Wait, Zwift, do not use my forever data. Please don't use my forever data.
That's the thing is like these
like
rides, these noodle rides. Those are data that's going into them, right? Because that's part of the Z map, ZFTP that we've talked about weeks ago. Have they changed that?
Well, I think that's what happened to me was before I took my summer off of indoor, I did a ramp test and I got a really good score on my ramp test. And Zwift went, whoa, you kicked ramp test, but you're like 500 race score. And when I came back in September, I was in better shape than when I took my summer break. And I went into a 0 to 300 race score race and I got stomped. And I thought, I'm a 500 race score person. I'm going to go in this 0 to 300 race and destroy everybody. And then the race started and went, oh crap. I think I came 14th out of like 30.
And I think all of these problems we're talking about, or all of this speculation, gets solved with consistent racing, right? The noodle rides don't matter as long as you're putting an effort on the platform. And if you start racing and you care about race score, you're going to put an effort, you're going to change your seat scores, and you're going to move on, right? It takes time. Some people don't race often enough that it may take the first of the year before this really flattens out, right? To get full history in there on most riders.
I'm a fan of it, partly because it puts me probably in the category I was in and puts me against competition that's going to make me get better. I think that's the other part people might miss is if you're racing with stronger people, you're going to get better. And that's, I mean, I said this on stream the other day at the last ZRS race I did. I said, man, if I was in my old B category, I'd attack right now and have some fun. And right at that moment, the higher power guys than me, the higher watt per kilogram guys, they went off the front and I had to chase. And I think it was like, I don't even know how long it was. It felt like 10 hours that I chased these guys, but I had to bridge the gap. To be at the final, I had to bridge the gap. And that effort, as long as I keep repeating them and competing, it's going to make me better. So that's why I'm a fan of it, because it's going to force me riding against these top guys to improve myself. But I don't know.
Okay. All right. Enough race score. Just keep putting data in. That's it. Just keep putting data in. Always be pedaling, always be cranking, always be putting data in. And that's how you get better. Or that's how they get better, taking the algorithm, or is it the algorithm or whatever? Take it as your profile, who you are, right? Isn't that the conclusion? That's the conclusion. Keep racing, keep sending data.
Yeah. So. And now it is good they removed all ABC except for group rides, but they just put up pace. I don't know if there's a kit associated or color or not, but it's everywhere. So I like that that
is a good we got to give them credit for that. Like the innovation of like, hey, we're done with this category stuff.
Yep.
We're going to do this. Now, the
people are not done
going in and telling the community like, hey, get over what you get having problems with and accept the fact that we're doing this. That could be messaged better, I probably believe. Right?
Yeah.
Or do they?
Yeah, they need marketing help, PR help on some of this stuff.
Yeah. Isn't that? I mean, James Bailey is like the only guy that kind of peruses those forums, right?
I appreciate that James Bailey is getting grumpy on his responses. I love it because he used to be very political and very customer service oriented, and now someone asks a dumb question, and he's like, "That's a dumb question. Think again before you were." And I'm like, yes, James, yes.
Kudos to him because he's kind of having the same response as we are. Guys, this is based on results. You have to put results into the system for it to work. So don't complain about it. And I think the miss, Brian, that you're talking about is setting that expectation with the riders. I think riders' expectations of racing is not accurate. Zwift has created a false sense of what racing really is.
Yes.
We need people's expectations when they join the race to be different. You should expect that some races are going to break you. Like you should expect what I've experienced in FRR. And I will admit, man, those days when I could jump on Zwift and join every race and be sprinting for the finish and on the podium, that was fun.
Yeah.
But I got more gains when I started racing the big guys and joining the Europe races and having to chase guys like Nathan Guerra around. That's what made me better. If you're winning every race, you're probably not improving because you got nothing to chase. And in the old category system, if you improved, you all of a sudden ended up at the back of your category.
You can chase yourself or the clock.
Yeah.
That's what I do. All right. Bike-Tera. I want to talk about it. Very strong community. It's building. It's growing rapidly. One of the big things there's two sort of developers, two key people. So Matt and Anslow. It's a browser-based thing. We've talked about Bike-Tera, but maybe some people don't know what it is. But it's essentially a browser-based riding platform. This is a screenshot from it. It's very blocky. Looks. Some people say Roblox. Some for the audio-only audience. It's sometimes
so good,
cartoony, whatever. But it's got its style. It's got its own style. I like the style. I enjoy it. I have fun on it. There's a lot of improvements happening under the hood and on the UI and out in the visuals of things. So like the visuals sort of stay the same in a sense that like the environments are starting to improve, the biomes are starting to change, but the avatars are also, you can customize your avatar, the colors of your jersey, your bibs, the little accent colors. There's animations that could be fixed and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that I have noticed is they took a big assessment of what's working on their HUD and they wanted to add new stuff. So the menu buttons have moved. The mini map is sort of like it used to have a small, very small profile, which I was okay with, but they actually moved the profile into the bottom of the screen, which is akin to RGT. So if anyone knows what an RGT screenshot looks like, that's what it looks like now, where you have so there's a line in the middle. So like the center of the screen is where your position is, and the profile scrolls with you instead of it's just you start at the front and then finish. So if you do loops, and you can do this, this is the thing that Brian what's your name? Brian White. My goodness. Brian White has always had an issue with Magic Roads on RGT. It was just ride from the beginning you could create loops, but if you did one from the start to the finish, that's it. And then you would have to leave and you couldn't roam around. You still can't roam around. There are only routes created and you have to launch those. There's pre-built ones and then there's ones you can create on your own. I don't know if that's something that interests him, but the free riding is not there. It's not curated. It's not necessary. That's not a selling point of it. The big thing is that you can do GP, like real GPXs, and it populates. Now you can select, even in the route building, you can select the biome that you want. And so if you wanted to have it to be more desert-like, or if you wanted to have, I don't know if you can do like more buildings or less trees. I don't know exactly what that is. Maybe more like there's like wheat and there's fields and other things like that. It's a lot of fun. It's not taking itself seriously, and it's just a lot of fun. And we have group rides now. You can do a group ride. I do a group ride on Wednesdays. There's one in the morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, and then there's one in the evening now, 5:04 on Wednesdays. So if anyone wants to join up, it's free to join. You just go to Bike-Tera.com and then you sign up to an account, and then under events, I don't know if Lee's here, but if you could bring up the events thing, you can show the events thing. You don't need to go into the race or a ride. You can just sign up and join.
It's just a screenshot.
Yeah, this is just a screenshot, but you can go and it's under events, and you have the sponsorship to be named or to be determined, group ride on 10 a.m. and 5:04 p.m. I don't know why I chose 5:04, whatever. It's just random. And then you can come and ride and get a feel for things. And people group up. There's no racing score. There's no race results yet. They're still working on that. There's a big long list of things, but I have really enjoyed it the last like 2 weeks. Anybody else care to chime in on Bike-Tera? I know you guys haven't tried it yet.
I haven't ridden Bike-Tera a whole lot, but I very much enjoyed watching you guys ride Bike-Tera.
Yeah, we had the group ride last week. 10 riders.
Made me want to do Bike-Tera. Because it's browser-based. Like, this is a screenshot we're seeing. That's probably why it says 5:04, but I wasn't able to bring up the actual Bike-Tera because it is browser based, and us using streaming software that's browser based, it kind of overloaded the system.
Oh yeah, there you go. Bike-Tera.
Yes, I quite enjoy the twerking in Bike-Tera.
Yeah. There's some twerking and there's some avatar animations that need to be resolved.
Yeah, they're funny.
But yeah, you can. It actually identifies the draft that you have. The one cool thing, the old, and Lee knows this when I wrote the little whatever article on the RGT forums way back when, before the game disappeared, when they introduced steering, is there was a flow that we lost when we went to steering, and there's a flow on Bike-Tera. So there's a center line, like a sort of the center of the road that you're on, or the lane you're on. So if you're going one direction, there's one side of the road. Every rider is trying to be in that center line. And so you'll get easy pace lines because people's watts sort of different. And then everyone's kind of in that line. We don't bunch up a lot. Then when you're going around, the hitboxes are very, large. So you don't phase through people as much. And so you do actually go around people. Maybe you go around a little too much. Like it's not super, like you're not scraping shoulders with people. But you have this sort of like, hey, I go around people and then I come back to the center. And it's this flowing of thing, instead of sort of like randomly moving around on the road, which sometimes happens in Zwift. I was watching that today. And we do have arrow keys on a keyboard where you can actually position yourself. Then you let go, it sort of it snaps you back to the center. So you can go around somebody or find a better line if you're in a larger group, and then let go, and you don't have to steer back to the center. It brings you back to the center, and it brings you back into that sort of movement of the group, which I like. So try it out, everybody, or not. Just let me talk about it. That's fine.
I really like the replacement of Magic Roads, because that's what I did enjoy out of RGT. One of the things, because I could, like when I did the route for my mountain ride, I did 3 or 4 or 5, 6 rides on it, training for it. So I do love the fact that it's there. And, coming in to the spring next year, I plan on using it. Like right now, you guys can enjoy it and I'll just sit back and like watching it. But I do really like that it's there, and it seems like it is succeeding, and they are doing a lot of work, like you just said. So I'm in favor of it. I like it.
You're muted, Lee. Lee's muted.
I was gonna say, our local bike club used Magic Roads all the time. I mean, I live in a part of the country where the weather potentially is volatile in spring and fall, and we would have our spring, bike club ride, and I would make an RGT Magic Roads. And if you woke up in the morning and it was absolutely pouring rain and cold, we would ride the ride we were going to ride outside in RGT. And it was super fun because we'd all be on Discord chit-chatting and doing the actual ride we were supposed to ride.
Yeah, we did that. We did the Discord. Everyone was on Discord and just talking, which is always fun.
I don't do much of this anymore, but when I was time trialing a lot, and when I was doing more serious, longer triathlon training and doing some big outdoor events, anytime I was doing something that I couldn't replicate easily locally, I would at least do a few longer rides in those scenarios using like the Magic Roads. Like the big gravel event I do in Missouri every year, it's 3 loops that are like 30 miles each. I loaded those up in RGT, and I did a couple rides on them before I went to get my brain ready for what I was going to tackle from a repeated effort perspective. Years ago when I was doing, and I think this is a huge step forward from this. Years ago when I was training for Ironman Wisconsin, I would load up the Ironman Wisconsin into Best Bike Split, and it would, I would put in, I forget what it was, my FTP or my what I wanted my finish time to be, and it would create an erg file to replicate the course, how I needed to ride the course. Mm-hmm. And I used to train like that in erg mode, and I think this concept of digitally feeling the road rather than being forced into you get your brain prepared for what those cycles are going to be. When you don't have access to them, or like Lee saying, the weather. I think from people that are formally training for something more serious like that, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. And it's not limited to the 100 kilometers, or the 99 kilometers for Magic Roads. Like there's 200 kilometer stuff, and they're constantly working on the GPX. There's a GPX smoother in the actual
I was gonna say, don't they have a smoother built in?
Yeah, they just added that. They added that this week. So like a lot of the RGT faithful that were like the GPX sort of like
magic.
Yeah, there's like that. There's also like trying to get more like real life terraforms to show up, like, so when you load something up, it's like the side of the mountain is in the right spot. Because we did the Durango Iron Horse Classic, which was
that's what that was.
Yeah, that was,
I recognize that. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
That was one of the RGT national races.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It had the train in it. Yeah.
So that was there. Yeah, a lot of RGT stuff has been brought over.
I still have RGT on my computer, and I don't want to uninstall it in case someone hacks the servers and makes it go live again.
That's not going to happen, but
no,
I would love for it to happen. That's a good dream to have. I actually have the original or the first before Wahoo bought it, and it has the glitch on my Apple TV, so I could get the splash screen. It doesn't load anything, and then what was the other thing that I was going to bring up is you can load up when you do a event. You can load up somebody else's GPX that's been sort of curated. And so you can search for those and load those up. And then they have bots. You can turn the bots off, or you can leave the bots on. So if you want to ride by yourself, you can do that. And then there's like
there's bots.
There's
I'm out.
Negative.
No
You're
bots.
out. See you, man. There's also a share link, so you can share private, and then you can share public. So you can make a public event, which a lot of people aren't doing. But if you wanted to do, like Lee said, with his group rides, is you could share it with your group, do the local group ride, and not have a bunch of other people in there. You can just have your people in there do that. So Bike-Tera.com, Biketerra.com. It's free to mess around. There is a paid sort of like support subscription right now. It's $5 a month, and you can get in early. And I think that they said that it would be grandfathered in. So if they ever did raise, you would be locked in under the $5 if you do it now. So there's something to that. It also supports them to do it. I am not sponsored by it. I just enjoy it, and I do. I'm a part of the community that's kind of helping it grow. What was the other one I did? I did Rolla too. I forgot I did Rolla.
Yeah,
Rolla during the week.
When you really like something, it's infectious.
Oh yeah,
watching you on stream.
Totally. Oh yeah, when
you're really enjoying something, you're like, damn, I need to try that. He's having a really fun time.
But we did learn he doesn't like people. He doesn't like people.
No. I do like people and doggies.
Like Ruby, that
but
no people.
But I don't need people. That's what we found out, Casey.
Yeah.
Okay, she wants the dog. She wants to stay with me. All right, come here.
She just woke up. She doesn't want
to. But I did Rolla. Sorry to derail the thing, but I did Rolla as well. And I hadn't done it in a while. But they've I don't know if they've redone their graphics.
Their rider animation, I think, is probably the best out of all cycling apps. I'm gonna say it. The rider animation looked pretty awesome.
Good ankle movement, yeah.
Good ankle movement.
No,
just
that's
in general,
thing.
like their entire body moved
in
what looked to me as a very natural movement.
Yeah.
And the graphics are pretty damn good.
Yeah, and it did Indie Velo this week too, and they've added a bunch of new devices. So they have core. I like that they added, I liked adding all the devices. I just was buried in the menus. I think now there needs to be a balance of too much versus too little, because I know Casey wants this, and I know some other people too. Maybe I'm not speaking. Maybe I don't want to speak for Casey, but I believe you said you want to be able to put on Zwift or a HUD in general, what you put on your Garmin or you put on your head unit.
I think that was me.
Maybe that was Lee. Okay.
Well, I just think Indie Velo, yes, it's awesome that they're adding all this stuff. It's almost getting to be too much on screen, and they're
It's
at
too
a
customizable.
crossroads.
Yeah. It's
They
like,
need to like do something about the HUD and the graphics, and like it's not good.
Yeah, I think customizable's okay, but I've seen this in the streaming world, and nobody take offense to this. Everybody can be creative in their own way, but some people have gotten a little carried away with their sauce overlays. And I watch these things and I'm like, how do you race? Get all that off your screen and chase the dang guy that's attacking. Don't analyze what his, how many matches has he burned and what's his watt balance and what's his average heart rate. And he's drafting better than me and he's kicking your ass. Get off the saddle and go. Like just, at some point.
What did I say in chat where I was like, if the guy was a minute and 15 ahead, I don't really care, because if I was able to hold his wheel, he wouldn't be a minute and 15 ahead. So why do I need to know that he's a minute and 15 ahead?
I get used to that. I get that similar aggravation when you get into some of these races when that'll be like, oh, is that guy real? And I'm like, well, he's not inhuman and I can't keep up with him. So whether he's real or not, I don't really care, right? Like he's either going to beat me or he's fake, or he's beat me and he's earned it. And either way, it's no skin off my back, right? If I get beat by a better rider, he deserves it. And if I get beat by a fake rider, I don't care. So as long as he's not influencing the race in a negative way, like pulling the pack too fast or being inhuman, that's where it's an issue.
There's been no race I've ever been in where I've closed a 1 minute gap. So why do I
You're not going hard enough, buddy.
You've not been in one of those races where Brian White says, get on my wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. The freight train's leaving. Hop on.
Yeah.
So I had a question about sauce. Why are there so many options? Is that just because there's that much data to pull from Zwift?
So let's talk sauce reckless speculation quick, right?
Sure.
You want to do some reckless speculation?
I love reckless.
We need a sound effect.
Has everybody heard the whole like Zwift sauces against TOS, all this, right? Like sauce is evil for Zwift, right? That's the impression you get from people, right? They're like, oh no, not sauce. That's TOS, right? Like I'm going to keep myself pure in Zwift, right? Because I'm not going to sauce. Well, apparently Zwift has a switch that they can flip that they have in the academy races that sauce doesn't work. So sauce does not work in an academy races. So if Zwift really cares about you using sauce and wants to keep you all pure, they just got to flip a switch, and they're not. And in my opinion, their lack of doing something is showing me that they could care less what sauce is doing.
I think it's not even just a sauce thing. I don't mind mods in games. There's a lot of video games that have mods because the game itself has opened up the API to allow people to make mods. The mods are not cheating. They're just more visual
unless you make
things.
a mod that's like cheating.
But the thing is with sauce is going through like the back door by another account, and they're charging money for it. And it would be great if Zwift opened things up and said, hey, you want a custom HUD? We're going to allow you access to the HUD menu, and you can customize it with your own CSS, fonts and whatever, and see what you want to see.
So then why
open it to everybody?
What? Okay, this is the question for Zwift instead of us, but reckless speculation here. You know how you attach certain things and then it's like a third party, and then you open it up and then it gives you that sort of authorized prompt. Why can't we just, if you want to do sauce, it authorizes it through, and then you just tell the way you authorize something through Strava, or you authorize whatever the other thing is.
An official
you
mod.
go, oh, okay, cool. We just know this. And then you have all these disclaimers, and then why do you have to have a secondary account to get sauce? Does anyone know? I'm asking because I don't know.
That's how they get the data for these shows. It fan views you and pulls your data. That's my understanding.
Yeah,
Casey may know more.
Yeah, okay. Sauce is essentially running a almost like a
secondary instance.
It's running secondary instance or a backdoored companion app kind of thing. But you physically, Brian Kellison cannot be logged into this
to Zwift in 2 places at once.
Right.
You can't be logged in at 2 computers at once. And Sauce is another instance of a rider joining the game and then fan viewing you and pulling data around you. So you need a secondary account.
But you can't pull that data yourself. Like you can't get that data from yourself. It's only viewable data.
So every piece of data that Sauce is pulling is in the packets that are coming in and out of your Zwift as you ride. They're not necessarily viewable on your screen, but that data is coming in and out of your PC in packets. All of that data about the riders around you and all of that is all in the ecosystem of Zwift while you're riding, and that's how it's getting it.
And that's why you have to have the secondary account, is because that's Sauce's workaround. So there could potentially be this sort of like you're authorized, like Zwift will just go, hey, we want people to authorize and connect to us, and so you don't have to have another account. You just authorize it, and then this thing works through the secondary software. So you don't have to have two. Hold on, Sauce runs, but it's not launching another instance of Zwift.
What it does,
or does it launch another instance of Zwift to get the overlay?
Sauce is launched like it's a separate program with that login, and like I use Aunt Bev's account. So Aunt Bev, like one day when I was I wanted to get Sauce up to look at the draft.
Yeah.
Well, when I started Sauce, Aunt Bev on my laptop got kicked out because there was 2 accounts for Aunt Bev. So I think Sauce is like running a micro version of Zwift to log in to see the back door. So you can run it obviously off your machine or your PC, but it can't be off your main login. It has to be that secondary login.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's using as his base watcher for Zwift, but I'm assuming he's using some instance of the game or the companion app as kind of his general shell to gather that data. I'm not sure exactly which part he's doing that with.
And there's so I got Sauce and I used it about 5 times. I think I paid for it for like 6 months before I finally canceled it, just because I support the guy, like he's doing some work. So, but just like Casey or Zavarese, I think it was Zavarese just said, when I'm racing, so little of the on-screen data I really care about. Like I'm watching that guy in front of me. So when you have your entire screen filled up with data, what the hell are you looking at?
That's why
look
I
at the guy
turned
in
off.
front of you.
I turned off the other stuff, the other 2 features on the whatever dashboard.
Yeah.
Is that what we're calling it? Because I liked that it was just 3 things. I actually think they squeezed the HUD now that I've used it. It's like everything is squished tight in there now. Like the distance or the speed, like you have your speed and then you have your distance and then elevation and then time. It's tight in there. Like you can barely make things out now. Yeah. It was a lot bigger before.
And I'll be honest, like I don't even like having my heart rate data on screen for Zwift, but I do it I know everyone else like seeing, oh my God, that's all red, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Yeah. So on MyWhoosh, I don't even know if it's an option to bring it up. And I've never used it on MyWhoosh if it's there. And I'm not going to turn it on because I prefer not to see that I've been at, because from the right side of your screen to your wheel on Zwift is 4 minutes. So when I see 4 minutes of red, it gets in my head. I'm like, oh man, that's 4 minutes of like VO2. Holy shit. And I still have 2 more climbs to do or whatever, 2 more bumps. So
yeah, I'm totally mentally weak. And I know when I was doing IRL TTs, heart rate data kills me because I look down and I see it says 180 and go, oh, geez. Brain goes, you got 20 more minutes. I don't know if you can hold 180 for 20 more minutes. You better slow down. And then you slow down. And I found when I turned off heart rate data on my Garmin, I, on average, would go 5 to 6 beats per minute more than when I could see heart rate data. But even though you could have more, your brain gets in your head and you're just like, there's no way I could hold this wattage or that heart rate for much longer.
I think it almost is like it almost becomes an optical illusion kind of concept, right? If if you see it, you think you're approaching a cliff that you're about to fall off of, when in reality you may not be, right? Like but in your head when you see it, we're all kind of data geeks anyway. So I know, like, oh no, at 184, 185, I'm in trouble. So I'll start pulling back before I actually reach trouble, right? Because it's like you're watching your silhouette take one more step closer to that cliff, and you're like, oh no, I'm not getting close to the edge. And I used to do it in Zwift where I'd actually take a Post-it note and put it over the blue box.
Right.
I would actually put it on the screen where I couldn't reach it. And it's like, I'm going to race with nothing. The only part about sauce that I use, I too don't really use it for any race type stuff anymore. It's more of a supplement for the stream. And specifically, people like to see that draft stuff, right? That they like to see that little draft thing, and Zwift should have that in the game. I've used it a lot when I'm doing the data geek analysis on components too. I like keeping like 1 minute, 5 minute power up in sauce, and then I have it on my dual recording in my head unit. So at any point in time, I can look at my 1 minute average power on Zwift and on my head unit, and I can see, oh, my power meter's 1 watt different, 2 watts different. Real time, I can always see
that's a good okay. Yeah. That's actually a good tip.
Yeah, so I use that for dual recording all the time.
All right, I've never done that. I might do that now. That's a good tip. Thank you for that.
So that's just like a gut check in the middle of a race, right? Like, oh, I've been climbing this mountain for 10 minutes. My power meter says 244. The game says 245. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm solid. I'm good. Other than that, I'm going to give away some secrets. I hope none of my TTT buddies are out here. I'll use the TTT stuff basically to push my teammates, because I don't feel like they're always honest about how hard they're actually going. I'll be doing rotations.
You can see other people's stuff too.
Right. So I keep a thing up when I do team time trials. I keep a thing up with anybody within 3 seconds of me, and it has a bunch of stats on them up, like their real time stats is all just in like a little spreadsheet next on my other screen.
Oh.
So, and I'll run through all of their Zwift powers before the race, and these are my teammates, not my opponents, my teammates. And I'll just look like roughly what do they average for heart rate and what looks like around their max, just to be like, oh, this guy's kind of low, this guy's kind of high. I'll get into a race, like a team time trial, and be like, I'm holding 170 heart rate. Everybody else is panting, and I'm looking, I'm like, these two dudes got a 155 average when they're not pulling. Like, I'll be like, hey, Bob, your turn to pull. You're doing a minute, right? Like,
Dirt had an amazing TTT spreadsheet that someone had made, showing everyone. It'd pull in your Zwift power information, and it would give you pull rotations.
Well, there was that on Cycling with Doc. I don't know if it's Cycling with Gains with Doc now, but he had a team. I don't know what team it was, but he had like somebody who did an overlay of everyone in a TTT, and it was like it would show people's heart rate. It showed everyone's power and stuff like that. And it wasn't sauce, but it was something else. And then they sort of like built their rotations based on that. So those are cool things. Those are cool. That's cool. That's really cool.
So I'm going to try to share this in chat and see if it works. Dirt has that one. My Dirt team has that one. I find it to be a little bit flawed because it's great. But what I find is flawed in it is it's always a watt per kilo target.
Okay.
And it estimates how much you can rest in the draft, but it's always targeting a watts per kilo. So we're going to have the 60 kilogram rider pulling at 280 watts, and we have the 100 kilogram rider pulling at 450 watts, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, especially on the flats, the height makes a really big difference in riders.
Right. Yeah.
So this link that I'm sharing in chat, if anybody's in chat on Twitch, I use this, and you actually plug in your the Zwift ID of all the riders on your team, and it pulls in the stats from Zwift on that rider, and then it will actually like formulate a pull order, how long they should pull, and all of that. And it's a little more scientific on height, weight, FTP, all of that.
Can you bring it up later or no?
Yeah, one sec.
But my question, Casey, is can you use that for post?
Like
does it do post TTT analysis?
I haven't used it. This is just to like build your plan for the race.
Okay.
So this is usually my starting point for building a plan for a TTT. And Usually, we will beat the estimated finish time on this if we don't fall apart.
Okay.
We will usually beat it. If you give somebody a target, and the worst one is on the screen right now that I TTT with, if you give someone a target, they will overshoot that target. And one person here sometimes maybe gets deliberately lower targets because I know he's going to go 30 watts over his target every bowl.
Yeah. Good strategy.
I get in a rhythm, man.
And Bev.
And if you watch Casey TTT with these guys, you'll hear him say from time to time, "I know you have a few more beats left." You'll hear him.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good coaching. That's really good. Because you probably can do that. And that's why I was asking about post-race analysis to be like, hey, you were 2% under what you could have done more, or you were 3%, or you were like 10% under. And it's like, were you sick, or were you not? Did you not rest, or you just, hey, we didn't do it? Like that would be kind of cool too.
Oh,
like,
I've been on some TTT teams that were quite competitive because I was a decently fat, high watt C. So I was always recruited for the B teams needed some high powered Cs. So like with my weight and my FTP, I fit perfectly into, some of the flat TTs, and they were scrutinized after. They were definitely would go through all the data as a team and go, hey, like you didn't pull what you should have been pulling, and we won't be having you back next week.
Right. There's something to like physical exertion and optimized performance, right? Where you're like, hey, you went super deep and you did a great job. You pulled, but you pulled too much, and it shredded us, or it made people to work harder, and they couldn't recover. But
that's I became a low B, I was off the team.
But
I was gone.
All right.
You can only have 3 Bs. They all have to be high Bs.
As soon as I got, I became an absolute lowest B, and they were like, sorry, but you can't come back.
Now we would do post race analysis a little bit within the team, but we didn't get super technical with it. But we would have guys be like, sorry, I just didn't have it. I did a long ride this weekend or something like that. A lot of times that post race analysis was for me, because I'm usually very much leading the team and calling rotations. So there's a lot of times where the post-race analysis is more about, hey, I read this during the race. Did I read that right? And getting that guy's feedback after the race when his head's clear. To be like, hey, I thought I heard you struggling. You were dropping your power a little bit in a pole. Was I right to skip you there? And he's like, yeah, I was going to blow up. But he wasn't telling me that. I read it in the way he was polling to be like, okay. So then I would check with him after. I didn't want to call him out during the ride. And so we would do, and I would do a lot of that, or especially a lot of times when we drop somebody, like, oh, my bad as a leader. I need to watch this closer, right? I didn't recognize that. Or you guys at the back of the pack, call that out a little earlier. That's usually what my post-race stuff's about, is execution.
Right. And then there's even the, hey, we can go to this. Is there a possibility to go, hey, we can get to this point in the race and drop people to then, get that speed up, keep that speed higher. And then at a certain point, it's like, there's no point in keeping you, like, just use everything you got. And you kind of know that that's a strategy to build in. Is that this sort of like TTT calculator sort of thing? Does that help you with that?
The TTT calculator, I think, calculates it with the concept that it will not push anyone beyond what their numbers say they can do if you do it by the book. So you shouldn't drop anybody. Now, I will say, I am not necessarily the favorite TTT leader among people who are super competitive. I will sacrifice 30 seconds in our overall time to give 8 guys a long ride rather than drop the 8th man in the first 6 miles, right? I'm not going to ask somebody to sign up to join the start line for me to drop him on the first climb 8 minutes into the race. And I feel terrible. I'll say this, and Brian White knows this. I'll say this in chat. Like, there's a late climb in this race that I'm willing to drop people on. But if that's not the instance, I usually am not willing to drop somebody unless they just come up short, right? They just like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm sorry. I'm sick. You
have a democratic sort of like voting system.
There's been a lot of times
I gotcha.
to where I've been with Casey and I'll sit at the front at 3 watts per kilogram to let 3 seconds or whatever come back, and then we'll get up to speed slowly. You know what I mean? And then I'll take the longer pull to let those guys rest, because it is nice, because I've been with a few teams before I started with Casey. It was cutthroat, man. If you were off 1 second, they didn't give a shit. They were gone.
And this is what you don't do. This is not a rabbit hole that we weren't even planning on going down. But this is what I don't believe in a team time trial, and I've seen it absolutely destroy people's experience on team time trials. Don't run up a hill and pull a 10-second gap and say regroup at the top, because the guys that get over the hill fast are the stronger guys, and they sit up there and soft pedal and get a rest. And the second the guy chases back on at 5 watts per kilogram, they go to the front and pull at 5 watts per kilogram and drop the dude again. And if you would have just rode with that guy up the hill, he got a draft immediately. You didn't wait 30 seconds for him to catch back on. He immediately got your wheel, got your draft, and go. And then in that instance, like Brian White's talking about, you want to get the riders together as fast as possible. And I've seen too many times where they'll get that gap, they'll call that gap, and the guy at the front just holds his power. And the guy behind has to chase and close that 3-second gap. And it's like, go back and get him. Like, come back and get him. As soon as you're together, you go again. But honestly, it's I fail as a leader if I've let that gap go and I haven't seen it. If I didn't see the gap and it got told to me, I feel like I failed as a team time trial leader, because I should be telling the front to, hey, turn it down a notch. I do that a lot now. I'm getting better and better. It's like, hey, 1 click lower, because I'm seeing it string out. You start seeing that watt per kilo in that riders nearby on those back couple riders where it'll drop to 2 and then it'll jump to 4.5 and it'll drop to 2. And I'm like, that dude's struggling. He's spinning up, getting a breath, and he's starting to pull back, and he's doing that a couple times. And I'm like, all right, turn it down a notch, like 1 click lower.
That was always mine. Like, we wouldn't discuss it before the race. And as we're leading into the hill, the leader guy goes, we're going to ride 4.5 up this hill. And I go, I'm not even pulling at 4.5.
Yeah.
Like, how do you expect me to ride for 3 minutes up 4.5 when my pull isn't 4.5? Like, I'm going to fall off the back.
The art to the mixed cat team time trial, and Brian White and I have done this a lot. The strong guy, like I don't want to use the letters. The B, almost A guy actually has to do reverse what you think he should do. You go harder on the flat when the guys can rest on your wheel, and you pull it down for the hill, because the guy at the back can't actually match your power on the hill. So you may pull 4.2 on the flat, but you're going to pace the hill at 3.7 because the guys drafting you still have to do 3.5 and they can barely make it. Yeah. So that's a rabbit hole.
I know, that was good.
I could talk team time trial for 2 hours. I love the dance, the craft of team time trial. That is one thing I am passionate about. When you guys were talking team racing earlier, I love the art of a good executed team time trial, maximizing the power and the rotation of the riders.
Yeah.
Maybe I want a team time trial again. Damn it.
I enjoyed it when I would do it.
If you get the right team together, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And just like Casey's saying, some of the teams, the team, like, it's team time trial. So dropping people 8 minutes in, that guy hates it. Like, what's the purpose?
He's not coming back.
We actually used to drop people
What are you
on
talking
purpose,
about?
but it was totally a planned thing.
You could drop somebody at 8 if they know, hey, you're going to the front, you're riding as hard as you can for 8 minutes, and then you're keeping that speed up, and you're like, you're sacrificing yourself. This is the team.
Yeah,
like,
that's course.
I know my role. But if it's like, hey, I'm hanging off the back, and then you guys smash it and drop me, that is that I understand. But the role is like,
the course that has Box Hill in it, I'm not making it up Box Hill. So whenever that course came up on Thursday, I would pull and blow myself up.
Box Hill, and
at the bottom of Box Hill, I would take double rotations and be like, I'm done. See you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's all you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're like
you should be rested because
CRL or something. Yeah, if you're competing for a win in ZRL or something, that's kind of what you do. It's like, if you know you're on a course that's finishing close to that, you're like, okay, we gotta have safety of 5, right? If we want 4 to finish. like you got to pick like, okay, who's your sixth strongest, and can that seventh or eighth, even if you let 7 and 8 rest most of the lead in, it's 2 minutes before the hill. One of you's doing a monster pull and the other one's doing a monster pull, and everybody else gets at least 2 minutes of draft.
Yeah.
Before the hill effort, right? The guys that you're counting on to get over the hill.
Because you don't need, if the requirement for the race is 4 have to finish, then you should not be finishing with 8 people.
Right. For maximum efficiency.
For maximum efficiency, yes.
Yeah.
Well, because Box Hill, once you got to the top of Box Hill, it was pretty much downhill somewhat to the finish. So you could burn people out before getting to the hill.
And my stance on Thursday night WTRL is we're very competitive teams, but I'm not going to roach 3 guys off the back every week to get from 10th to 9th in the standings. I'd rather us all finish with an awesome, fun time, 8 of us together.
Unless they volunteer it up. Unless they're volunteering it up.
If there's a late climb, right? Like if you're doing Watopia, was it reverse hilly or something, right? You're on the hill. We're destroying people on the aliens, right? And 4 guys get over the aliens, and we're crying by the time we're over that hill. That's just the way it is, right? But to me, you finished with everybody at that point, right? If you drop them within 5 minutes of the finish line, that's not throwing away riders.
All right.
It's also being part of a team. Like you want what's best for the team.
Yeah,
so if that involves you falling off the back because you pulled your heart out, then that's what
we're dropping you, Lee, immediately out of the pen.
Out.
Yeah. First kilometer. I can't even keep up with the pull, like the start.
Yeah.
So one thing, we're getting really long here, but one thing I wanted to touch on real quick was just how I started here, FRR.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You weren't here when we were talking about it. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean, that league was brutal. The last 2 days were terrible, but kudos to them for putting out the league. I would have never ridden these 2 routes for any other reason other than I had done 7 of these stupid things that weren't terribly hard, and now I can't quit because I'm in the top 10 of the New Jersey hunt, and I got to finish them, right? So I guess kudos to them. I hate them for the courses, but kudos to them as they put them in the last 2 courses.
Yeah.
And I sucked it up and did them because I wasn't going to give up the work I did for Green Jersey. And I also think anybody who got involved in that needs to put on that frame of mind of those results-based categories. FRR was results-based categories. Yes, I got destroyed in the power competitions, but I hung in top 10 on the Green Jersey when I didn't commit to the Green Jersey until I was 4 legs in. I was still juggling between GC and green, and that's because I'm a good racer, and I'm good at flats, and I'm good at sprints. So my category was right, and there were guys time trialing at 5.0 in my category. Both of those things can be true, right? I can't hang with the 5.0 guy, but I can take his Green Jersey. So
there's other competitions within the race.
Yeah. So kudos to Rich, kudos to FRR. They got more stuff coming, guys. Check them out. They announced something big last week. I don't know much about it, but it's like a ladies team thing, and it sounds like more to come. I think they're making a run at ZRL, honestly. I think they're making an independent run at ZRL type stuff, and I think ZRL needs it. Yeah,
I saw that, but I didn't look into it because I'm not a female. That's my fault for not investigating more just for the show.
In the drops covered it a little bit, and I didn't get a chance to pick up on all the details. But
daughters, shouldn't you be focused on?
Yeah.
It's all right. All right, we done? Thanks, Casey. Thanks for filling us in.
We covered everything
for this week.
Yeah, there's some other stuff that we're too far into the show to get into, but.
Maybe they'll fix virtual shifting. Wahoo's got to deal with that. But
that was part of the topic, some of the V6 stuff, but we'll see how this week goes.
That's what I know.
Yeah,
that's a lot of unknown, right?
Yeah, a lot of unknown, but
there's too much unknown to truly talk about it, so we'll just see how this week goes. But there's issues with the V6 and
what else big could be coming around the corner too? The Jet Black Victory.
We didn't touch
came out this week, and you don't have to dig. Just the review was fantastic,
phenomenal. 9.5 out of 10.
True. I hope it's true. If it's true, it's game changing. Honestly, if it's true, it's game changing. I have my doubts.
We need the 6-month review.
That wound is not completely healed.
Yeah. The first test, like power that I saw, I'm like, oh man, that didn't even touch what the other issue was.
Just give it to me for one race.
For people that don't know, Casey had the Zwift hub, and he did a lot of work on it. And
I feel like Casey was the one who broke.
Yeah, Casey's the one who broke
the story of the hub.
Yeah. And worked with Zwift support, and it just found out that it's not for bigger riders.
45 days before they officially answered you?
Yeah, they finally just kind of shrugged and like, yeah, we'll give you a refund because you're too strong for this. It can't handle the heat load. And that was basically it. The service on it was kind of comical until it got out there a little bit through my stream. And then all of a sudden they were on it. But it was like, I was having like 7-day turnarounds per message to the Zwift customer service, on the hub, like just do. Yeah. But in the end, they full refunded it. They acknowledged it. And for those that don't know, the Jet Black Victory, Jet Black was the maker of the Zwift Hub. It was just rebranded for Zwift. The Victory essentially the speculation is the Jet Black Victory actually would have been the Zwift Hub 2 had Zwift and Wahoo not had their lawsuit and the Zwift
reconciliation.
Hub. Yeah.
And they became
so
sort of,
that's the speculation.
They dropped it on both sides, right? So
the speculation is this would have been Zwift Hub 2.
I mean, if it can prove that it can handle the heat, it is the freaking trainer to get.
If you don't want elite racing and you don't want a climbing, if you don't want a climbing tool, it's great. 2%. If it's really 2% accurate, it's got race mode, it's got Wi-Fi, Durcon bridge mode, and $400. Like, I mean, cheap. The old top of the line, was it Kickr Kinetics fluid trainer, used to cost $275 or something.
Oh, is that
right?
Like
it was expensive.
Oh yeah.
It is not even a smart trainer.
How much was the Le Mans Revolution? Wasn't that like 400? No, was it more than that? I got a hand me down. My buddy gave me I thought it was $499. Maybe it was $400, $499.
Well,
you get the wall box, but that was not a smart trainer, so they didn't have any. It didn't have any parts in it, but it was like the first sort of like of that form where you take your back wheel. It was a wheel off trainer, and I think it was $499. I can't remember. I'm now reckless speculation here, or old, not even knowing what he's talking about. So,
but if it's good, it just continues to drive the market down, which is good for all of us.
It was just under $500, brand new.
The Le Mans Revolution.
Yeah.
Here,
you could here. Oh wait, never mind.
Did it come with earplugs?
Yeah. That's actually loud.
I still have it. I love it. I use it for time trial.
I still have a Kickr Kinetics back there in the closet. I still got my rollers too.
It is a jet engine. It feels good though. That's the thing. Is for me, feel is a big thing, and I feel like the show is over. That's what I feel right now. I want to go. I want to go eat dinner. That's what I feel.
Nathan's playing freaking card games. So we're gonna.
Oh, is that what it is? All right. Play the music and raid whoever we're raiding. Thanks everyone for hanging out.
I appreciate it, guys.
Ask Nathan if he's got his backpack on with extra kilos in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks everybody. All right.
Later.
Bye-bye everybody.
Yeah.